just finished watching The Breakfast Club.
I give it a thumbs up.
I liked it.
Yeah, I've seen it before, but
Me too.
I feel like it's just a typical like 80s movie. I don't know, like you have the music, you have like the dance break really quick.
Yeah.
The whole scene where you're like running and then like slide and go the other way. Like I feel like some of these things are just like so just like characteristic of 80s movies.
I just feel like a lot of movies try to imitate this movie specifically
Yeah,
too.
that's
Just
true.
like, I don't know. To me, I've never liked this as much as like other John Hughes movies. I feel like it's a little bit like very much like so high school and like trying to capture high school, but I feel like it is a little heavy-handed sometimes.
Yeah. No, it definitely touched on like all of that because like it was very cliche at times. And then all of a sudden it'd do like a complete 180.
Trying to be really
and, like,
deep,
yeah,
which
then
also I feel like ended up being cliche because it was like trying.
Yeah, it
so
was
hard.
like too deep.
The freaking jock has daddy issues.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Everyone
Yes.
did. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what got me about this movie was they're like,
Oh, yeah,
no, you haven't heard my story, and then they tell your story, and then everyone's like, I'll one up you and tell my story, and it was
Yeah.
like a little much, but I do also feel like people in high school feel that way. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
They started talking about their. Actually, I think that maybe like family's a thread in this because their parents
Yeah.
dropped them off in the beginning,
Yeah.
and it's like the girl says to her dad, "I can't believe you can't get me out of this," and then the nerd's parents say, "Mister, you find out a way to study," and then the jock's dad says, "Guys, screw around. There's nothing wrong with it," and then the what's his name? John walks in by himself.
Huh.
And then Allison gets dropped off, and then they drive away before saying anything. So like we start the movie seeing their like different messed up relationships with their parents, and then that's like the first time they start talking. They talk about their parents, but then at the end, or like at that scene where they're all just sitting around, literally everyone's crying. They talk about their parents again.
See,
Yeah.
but I think like all of them had like daddy issues in a sense,
Yeah.
but I feel like they all kind of related to each other. Like I feel like that was like the one like the one thing that ended up tying all of them together because they kind of all saw like, oh yeah, everyone has like home issues here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I don't know, I feel like everyone else, all of their problems like centered around the family as opposed to just like the geek. Like he had some serious like mental issues that I feel like
his family.
like yeah, I feel like in part came from his family because of the pressures, but also like I feel like that was more of just like a psychological like kind of like diving into like the psyche of like the pressures of school and like how, because even now like the question comes up like, is school actually too much? Like are we putting too much on students?
Yeah. I think this is a good example of the initiation based off of that thing that we just read, because like they do resist the coming to the understanding that they all have little pieces of each other, and like that at the end, the guy's like, we are all a nerd, a jock, a basket case, a princess, and a criminal, but it takes them an hour and 37 minutes to get there.
Yeah.
And 9 hours of their time.
I was curious though for the initiation, is the hero supposed to be Judd Nelson?
I think it's all of them. I think
You were the hero in your own story.
I think that
But I feel like they focus on him more.
well,
Like we end with him.
Well, I feel like it's because he's like, out of the 5 of them, he's more of the antagonist.
he's definitely the catalyst to get them
Yeah.
all. Because once they all start talking, and once everyone starts being like, all right, we're no longer sitting at desks, he kind of quiets down a lot in comparison to how much he's being a dick at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, I feel like the beginning of the movie focuses more on him as like the central character, and then, like you said, once like that kind of hits and they all start talking and like the scene especially where the 3 of them are like smoking weed in the middle of the library, like that, like he kind of just like fades to the background and it kind of focuses on everyone else's like story.
Yeah, like I think that if we were to Google this, his picture would be first in the list of characters, but I don't think that he's meant to be like the protagonist. I think it's supposed to be like the Breakfast Club.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is supposed to be a group, but in terms of the way that they focus on him and I forget the supervisor, Richard, Dick.
Yeah.
That like struggle between them, I feel like Vernon is supposed to be an antagonist, so then like in terms of that, I feel like he's the protagonist to that antagonist. But they all could be a little bit. I guess.
Also, he was like not even borderline abusive. Like that is just not okay.
Yeah, it was like super. It escalated so fast. I feel like they didn't give a lot of context.
Yeah,
and then they spent that scene with him and the janitor talking, and I like wrote down like I don't know the point of this, like why did the filmmakers even bother to develop his character beyond he's like a shitty teacher and like he's like snooping around.
I feel like that might play back into the scene where they're all talking about their parents and they're like, wow, like we're gonna become our parents, and then they said like I can't even think of the quote, but it was something like the heart dies like as you get older. I feel like that kind of played back into that scene between the janitor and Vernon, because like even the janitor, he was like, well, like would you like yourself as a teenager? Like if you were a teenager right now, like the teenagers didn't change, like teens are still gonna be teens, like you're the one that changed, like you're the one that kind of became like very cynical.
Yeah.
Dang.
And like your heart died, I guess, in that sense.
Yeah, I wish we'd seen more of like an impact though from that conversation. Like I do feel like Vernon gets completely dropped off in the story. Like we don't even follow up with him at the end. He just disappears.
He doesn't even come into the library to dismiss them.
That's what I was shocked by. Yeah.
What do you guys think the social commentary is? Like, be yourself?
I feel like it kind of, like the way it played into stereotypes at the beginning. Like, I mean, even like in the note, like it's like the princess, the jock, the criminal, like the outcast, the like the geek.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of just showed that like even though everyone, like on the outside, like everyone has their own like social cliques, like there is, like we're all kind of more the same than we actually are different.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm wondering, because this was released as a teen film, right?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't.
Yeah, I think it was 14.
So I'm wondering if like generally teen films are like if they have social commentaries that are a little more like
dumbed
more
down.
like moral lessons.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Instead of like this is a commentary on Detroit.
Yeah. I feel like too though it definitely did address things that I feel like weren't as like so obviously addressed like in the 80s as they are now. Like I mean the like the suicide, the bullying, like all of that. I feel like at least mental illness and like suicide and stuff, I definitely wasn't like it was a lot more stigmatized then than it is now, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's definitely a lot more talked about now, so I feel like that was a really important like point of the film,
Yeah.
I guess. Like it was more of like a groundbreaking thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I also feel like it was a lot more restrictive in terms of like them like calling people faggots and like I was like, this movie would not exist in 2018 like as is.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Well, also my thing was too, like I don't know what the standpoint on drugs was, but like I feel like a lot of movies or like even like old commercials, like the first thing that came to my mind was like the egg commercial, like this is your brain on drugs. And like I feel like this movie kind of like favorably portrayed smoking weed. Like after everyone was like over the shock of like, oh my god, he has pot in his locker, they were all kind of just like go with the flow, and like that like really bonded them, you know, like nothing like a little weed to bring everyone together.
Yeah, I feel like it was almost like an extension of like the Judd Nelson effect of like taking things less seriously, or like it's like that's like a tool, but it's like an extension of the way his mindset kind of through the weed kind of, I don't know, extends to all of them, and then they start opening up to each other and start all like talking about whether they hang out with each other or acknowledge each other after like the weekend ends.
Yeah. I feel like also like the music in the dance
Oh
break.
yeah, okay.
Like specifically the music in the dance break is what stuck out to me because like the lyrics, it was like, we're not alone, like someone will always be there to break your fall, and
if we just expose our hearts, like that will speak to their sincerest
It was
thoughts, and then
literally,
we won't be alone.
like they had this deep scene and then they were just like, okay, quick dance break, and like
What deep
Yeah.
music.
yeah, but like the music didn't, I feel like if we didn't have the lyrics on screen, like
Yeah.
it just would have went over my head, but since like I physically saw the
Mhm.
lyrics, I was like, wow, like that was kind of clever, I think.
Yeah, yeah. That's one of the reasons I like to watch with subtitles is because you never really notice how the lyrics and music are like super specifically chosen until you're reading them.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to just get like lost in watching and just like hearing, but if you're actually like listening to what they're saying. But yeah, I was like, whoa, like I bet this is like what this movie's about. Like,
Yeah.
just gotta
Like
expose
discovering
your hearts.
yourself and
Just gotta expose your heart. You're never alone. You're never gonna be alone.
yeah. Also, I feel like the movie was saying stuff like a generational, like it kind of said stuff about like the generational gap too. Going back to like the scene between the custodian and Vernon, it kind of related back to like that quote in the beginning. I think kind of like that.
Which one?
It was, I think it was like the David Bowie quote, like the one that was physically on the screen
Oh, I don't know that I saw it.
right before the movie started. It was kind of just like like teenagers know a lot more about themselves than like adults think they do.
Oh.
Yeah. Cool. Like that played back into the note too. Like you see us in like simple terms, but like we're actually more than that.
Yeah.
I guess I wonder though how much this movie did though to expand upon like past the regular teenage cliches, because like the nerd doesn't end up finding anyone, and like
Yeah.
the two popular people do pair off with people, even if it is like, oh, crazy non-traditional, like the basket case who like had a makeover and now looks pretty, so she's dateable.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
And it's so funny to me that like the nerd kisses his paper,
yeah.
and then we see the other ones paired up, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
well, I guess there were 5.
Sorry.
They're like, can you write our paper for us? He's like, yes.
Yeah, that too. Like
Yeah.
they were just like, "Can you write the paper?" I feel like it would have been like more impactful if they'd all had to like contribute something, or like
If
it
it
was
Or like
like
even if they just
a
had
dumber kid had written the paper, you
Yeah.
know, like making the nerd write the paper. It's just like I feel like it's trying to like break against these cliches, but then it also like sometimes reinforces them, which I
Yeah.
think is funny.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? Save it for
No.
class tomorrow.
Yeah.
Save the rest of the class tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, goodbye.